Brian, I caught your presentation 10 minutes ago. Nice job.
Thank you. I was trying to make it exciting as District 2.
Yeah, that little Six Flags animation was
Yeah,
highlight of my day.
I was mesmerized. We're going on a roller coaster now.
Yeah. MassDOT does peer exchanges interdepartmentally every month. So the districts were giving highlights of what's unique about their regions. Just for people wondering.
Six Flags. Got it. I thought that was going to be like a new tip project. Do
Uh,
roller coasters count as transportation?
you know, I've wondered that myself. I'm a very seasoned roller coaster tycoon player. So
Yeah.
Mission to
I
Sim
am a
City, of
big
course.
roller coaster fan. All right.
I'm seeing 2 o'clock. Do we have a quorum present at the moment?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, we do. And I will share the presentation. So whenever and everyone's seeing the right slide.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, this meeting is being called to order. This is the March 26th meeting of the Northern Middlesex Metropolitan Planning Organization. Kelly, please call the roll.
Let me just get to that here. We have Pat Wojcik here. Karen Pulio.
Here.
Stephen Camelis.
Here.
Derek Schuster.
Derek Schuster representing MassDOT Secretary and CEO Monica Tibbetts-Nutt here.
Brian Fallon.
Brian Fallon representing Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver.
I don't believe Wayne Jeunesse is here yet, nor is Tom Bowmel. Oh, here's Wayne. We'll let him log in. Oh, hi Wayne, we're just calling roll, so I'm gonna call your name in a second whenever you're ready.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, Wayne Jeunesse.
Here.
All right, so roll is called, we have quorum.
Excellent, thank you. Next item on the agenda is an open forum. Oh, wait, before we continue, I wanted to acknowledge that ex officio member Joshua Barber from FHWA is present.
Everybody, Joshua Barber, Federal Highway, Massachusetts.
Welcome.
Thanks, Joshua. All right, continuing, open forum, the floor is open to public comment. If there are any members of the public wishing to make comment at this time, please use the raise hand function under React. Seeing none, if there are any members of the public that wish to make comment throughout the meeting, just please use the raise hand feature and the chair will call on you. Next item on today's agenda is approval of the minutes from the February 26th, 2025 MPO meeting. Could we please have a motion and second to approve the meeting minutes?
Motion to approve February 26th meeting minutes.
Second, Wayne Jeunesse. Thank you. Are there any comments or corrections to the minutes?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
All right, seeing and hearing none, Kelly, please call the roll.
All right, Derek Schuster.
Yes.
Brian Fallon.
Yes.
Pat Wojcik. Yes. Karen Pulio.
Yes.
Wayne Jeunesse.
Yes.
And Stephen Camelis.
Yes.
All right, roll call, motion passes.
Thank you so much. The next item on today's agenda is the Federal Fiscal Year 26 to 30 Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, development scenarios. I believe Kelly will be presenting on the TIP scenarios for the Northern Middlesex region.
Yes, and I believe we have Justin, Howard, and Allie Bent here from the LRTA, so we do have a scenario from them as well. So I will have them discuss what's on their slide, which comes after ours.
Excellent.
So just to kind of give you a picture of what we have in our universe of projects that could start between 2026 and 2028. Following TIP readiness days, we received a document from MassDOT clarifying what projects would be ready between 2026 and 2030. Based on that document and our total allocation, which is, so actually, let me take a step back here. Each of these projects here is shown in the earliest year that it would be ready to proceed on the tip. The numbers in parentheses below each project indicate the total project cost, as shared with us on tip readiness days. And then starting in 2027 and beyond, we have also included our updated transportation evaluation criteria or updated tech scores. And so those scores have a potential to range between -18 and 18. And so you can see that as the scores are closer to 18, those are projects that are more closely aligned with our regional priorities, as stated in our Vision 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan and in the Greater Lowell Vision Zero Plan, both of which were adopted by the MPO in recent years. If you look down at the bottom of the screen here, you can see I've summarized the total costs based on tip readiness years and then our annual allocation as provided by MassDOT. And you can see what the balance is on any given year based on if we were to program, which we can't, if we were to program those projects in the year at which they were first ready. So what you can see here is a situation where we have an excess of funds. We have a $2.68 million balance in 2026. And then looking forward to 2028, because of both project cost increases and just the number of projects that will be ready to proceed in 2028, we have a bit of a budget crunch in 2028. So that actually is going to really impact the scenarios in years 2028 and beyond. In the two scenarios that I'm going to present here, these projects, and so this is just a spreadsheet that shows the projects by year. And everything within the orange box here, these are all projects that we have fixed in both scenarios. And so just to explain the Lowell VFW Highway project, that project was AC between 2025 and 2026. So we've already had that project on the tip in 2025. We also don't have any other projects that are ready to proceed in 2026. So that project is going to remain in 2026. The Chelmsford Route 110 and 495 project and the Tewksbury intersection improvement projects, those two projects are both ready to proceed in 2027. So we have them remaining there in all scenarios. And then the Lowell Connector project, there was potentially an ability to create a scenario that had this project in a year in 2029 or 2030. However, this project did score 16.6 on our transportation evaluation criteria, and that is significantly higher than pretty much any other project on the tip. And so we have kept that because of that scoring. This is where our tech scoring really plays a role. And so because of how that project scored, we're proposing to keep that in 2028 in all scenarios. For 2026, as I mentioned, we do have a funding balance in 2026, and so we really have two scenarios here. The first is that we have had conversations with the Lowell Regional Transit Authority, and we have the ability to flex those $2.68 million in funds to the LRTA. This funding per the LRTA would go to Gallagher Intermodal Center safety and facility improvements. This would include an assessment of pedestrian and vehicular traffic patterns throughout the bus hub terminal and the garages, basically a redesign of the garage vehicle entrance and exit, and state of good repair and pedestrian facility improvements. So this would just be a project that would be offset by toll funds from the LRTA, and this way they could use these funds to help mitigate their own internal costs. It's pretty common and I believe the MPO has done this in the past, where we have flex funds to the LRTA. So this is a really good use of those funds. I do just want to give a heads up. If you were at our council meeting last week, we did present a very potential scenario that would have possibly funded sidewalk improvements in Tewksbury. However, upon conversations with the Tewksbury town engineer and MassDOT staff, it just seems like that project would not be ready to proceed in 2026, both because of the total number of easements and the amount of reviews that would have to happen. And given that that project has not been processed through MassDOT's project need form and gone through all of the additional reviews, it's just not going to be viable to advance that project as early as 2026. I've spoken with the town engineer in Tewksbury, and encouraged him to submit this project through MassDOT anyway, because this could be something we could consider in a future year, but it just isn't going to be ready by 2026. So with that, the only other real scenario for these extra funds in 2026 is to do nothing with that balance. That would mean that balance would be returned back to MassDOT.
I don't think that's an option.
No. So, and my understanding of this board is that we like to use as much of our local funding as we can. So, basically, what you're seeing in the next scenario, on the scenarios in the next slide, is flexing those funds to the LRTA. I don't mean to assume, but that just seemed to me like the path that you would be most like. I don't want to tell you what to do, but this seems like the most viable path forward. Our two primary scenarios really come in these out years. So when we're looking at 2028 through 2030, we have two options. One is to retake the remaining balance after the Lowell Connector project, which is about $2.7 million, and ACing or doing advanced construction on the Chelmsford Vinyl Square Safety Improvements Project, starting that project in 2028, and then continuing that project in 2029. We put this project in the scenario this way because this project ranked most highly out of the three, although I think you'll notice that those scores were all very, very close. This would then take the Westford Route 110 project. In this scenario, we could fund that project completely in 2029, and then we would fund roughly 10% of the Chelmsford Route 110 project in 2029, and then AC that into 2030. We have two new projects that were ready at tip readiness days. Those are both the Tewksbury improvements at Shawsheen, Foster, Catton Road and Beach Street, and the Tingsboro culvert replacement. So those would be combined with the second year of the Chelmsford project in 2030. And that would leave us with a balance of about $277,000. Are there any questions on this scenario before I move on to the next?
Cal, I just had a quick question. On the tech scoring, it says NA for VFW Highway and Gallagher. Is that because they're prior projects that already were techs rated before, or it's just a different category?
Sure, we did not, I didn't include our previous tech score for VFW Highway, and we didn't rescore that project because it's technically already underway. So I didn't want to create confusion by having a tech score that was based on prior tech scoring. We've just updated those tech scores. And then the Gallagher terminal improvements, we did not score that because that was not a project that was brought through based on tip readiness days. That was a decision, that was an option to flex those funds to the LRTA. And so we haven't gone through and scored that project. That's why both of those are NA.
And just one last question on the tech score. I'm trying to remember, how long has this process been in place with the rating, the way they're doing it now? Has that been around for a while, or has it replaced another way of scoring these projects in the past?
So that was the update to tech scoring that you approved at last month's meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm asking about the history of it. Has that always been in place?
We have had tech scoring since 2006.
2006,
Yeah.
federal fiscal year
Okay.
2006 is the
Yeah.
last time we updated it.
Yeah. And so this,
And what
this current tech was our most recent update, and that's the only update that's been completed, I believe, since the only major update since 2006.
Okay, I'm just curious, prior to 2006, what kind of system was in place to rate these? Was there one or not one?
As far as I know, there was not one.
What's that?
As far as I know, there was not one. If you look at old tip documents from the early 2000s and prior, there was no scoring or anything like that in the document. As far as we know, projects were not scored before 2005.
I don't recall, Steve, I don't recall a specific method for doing it prior to 2006.
Okay.
So it was kind of up to the project. A lot of it was based on funding.
Right, makes sense. I'm just wondering, that's all. Okay, appreciate that, thank you.
Yeah, and just kind of a reminder, the tech scoring is really a way of helping us understand and evaluate how well a project aligns with priorities that we've set forth in our Metropolitan Transportation Plan or other plans that have been adopted by the MPO. So it's it's a way to try to take, some qualitative aspects of a process, of a project and put a numerical score to them.
Yeah, because you have those so close in line, Chelmsford, the Vinyl Square, Route 110, and improvements, not much difference there. So, I mean, it's not a weighted average. Not everything's not committed to that tech score. It's a lot of other factors as well. The budget, the cost of the project, and so forth. Right?
Yeah, readiness. The year of readiness has a lot to do with it.
Okay, readiness. Okay.
Yeah. So moving on to the second scenario, again, in this scenario, the Chelmsford Vinyl Square project remains in 2028 and 2029. However, in this scenario, we've moved the Chelmsford improvements on Chelmsford Street into 2029. And then this would move the Westford Route 110 project back from its currently in our 2025 to 29 tip, it's programmed for 2029. Under this scenario, it would move it back a year to 2030. Other than that, the Tewksbury and Tingsboro projects remain. However, because of the, if you look at the cost of Chelmsford in 2030, it's a little bit lower than the cost of Westford in 2030. And because of the increased cost in Westford, that would mean we could only fund about, we couldn't completely fund the Tingsboro culvert replacement. So part of that project would have to, a very small part of that project would have to get funded in 2031. Just to kind of show these in more of like a decision tree format. So in 2026, you have options 1 or 2. That would be to either flex the funds to the LRTA or to do nothing with the balance. And then you have these 2 kind of sub scenarios, scenario A and scenario B. In scenario A, we would fund Westford in 2029, which is where it's currently programmed on the tip, and then fund approximately 10% of Chelmsford Route 110. And then those 3 projects, the Tewksbury, Shawsheen Street, Chelmsford Route 110, and Tingsboro Culvert would be funded in 2030. And then on scenario B, we would fund all of Chelmsford Route 110 in 2029, pushing the Westford project back to 2030.
Kelly, is
Yeah.
the staff's preferred scenario 1A?
I would say, I think that would be our preference, mainly because we have already programmed Westford into 1A. And again, I think it would be to flex the funds to the LRTA, yeah.
Did board members have any thoughts or questions on the scenarios as presented?
Sure, if I can jump in here. I think scenario A makes sense from my point of view. I think that it gets more money, or it gets more projects going quicker. And as we know, the cost of everything just continues to go up. So the more we can pull things forward, I think the better off we are there. And I will make a strong argument for flexing the funds to the LRTA in 2026. I think that helping to fund improvements to Gallagher Terminal is a key need within the city of Lowell and within the region. We've already seen multiple projects coming forward under the MBTA Communities Act zoning that we as a city have put forward and implemented. So I think that the demands on the Gallagher terminal are going to be increasing over the next few years. And so the improvements we can put into place there will help satisfy that demand. And I think that's an important step for this board to take. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. I have a question for LRTA, in case Justin or Ally are able to answer.
Yep.
When an MPO flexes regional target highway funding to an RTA is still responsible for identifying the matching funds for those federal dollars. It's usually RTA cap. Does LRTA have sufficient funding in FFY 2026 anticipated to match a
So
flex
we're
of
working,
dollars?
yep, we've reached out to MassDOT about it, so I think the plan is to use toll credits.
Okay. So would the flex be to 5339 in that case, or 07?
07.
Okay. I'll follow up with RTD about that, but I just wanted to verify that before pursuing that recommendation.
Okay.
Just because it is a requirement when we flex those funds that
Yeah.
you have that reasonably anticipated match.
Yeah, when I talked to MassDOT, so I know because there's not RTA cap available in 26 right now.
Mhm.
So they said we could use toll credits or local funds in an outer year, but where it's like, a capital project, I think toll credits is the way to go. So I'm waiting for confirmation from Lauren Richmond on that, but I think that's the plan. So
Okay. Thank you for confirming, and I'll coordinate with Lauren as well just to make sure it's reflected on the draft project list for LRTA if option 1A is what the board decides to vote for a preferred scenario.
okay, great. Let me
Um,
know if anything is needed from me, if you need to loop me in.
Thanks, Allie. Did you want to continue, Kelly? I'm sorry.
So this is it. I mean, I think we also have information from the LRTA. I think maybe what we could do now is if we could get a vote from the board on what to do with highway funds, and then we could move on to the LRTA's spreadsheet. That would probably be best.
Sure. Before we go to a vote, not to put D4 on the spot, but Brian, do you have any concerns with this scenario as presented? With scenario 1A for the readiness of the projects?
No, I kind of agree with what Wayne said as far as having more projects kind of in the pipeline, as it were. So I think they all have similarities with Westford, Chelmsford. They're at pre-25%. So we're still kind of waiting to see, what kind of shape they're going to come in at. So, but I think 2029 is still far enough away that we can kind of keep an eye on it and have flexibility if we need to.
Sounds good. All right. Could we please have a motion for favorable action on endorsing scenario 1A for the tip development scenario?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you, Wayne and Karen. Are there any questions? Hearing none, Kelly, please call the roll.
Right, Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Stephen Kamalis,
Aye.
Karen Pulio,
Yes.
Wayne Janess.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to commend MPO staff on presentation of this and preparation of this. I know this is a first crack for some of your staff people, so great work.
Yeah, I really want to add thank you to Apple and Emmanuel and Blake. They all really jumped in. We didn't even score projects last year, so this was a whole new process for us.
Excellent work. LRTA, would you like to present your draft project list?
Sure. So the first things on there's actually two projects that you'll see are the ADA commuter access way. So one is for community project funds that the LRTA was able to get through Congresswoman Trahan's office. And the other is actually funds that were flexed through the MPO in a prior year. We've got them on the tip. We're working with MBTA right now on this project to finalize the path forward. But we put the projects on here. So when a decision is made, we can get the funds obligated. We've got in 26 our regular operating assistance supplemented with relief funds. We've got the fleet expansion for buses for fixed route. So we're planning to expand service and with MassDOT and through the state budget in fiscal 25, and we'll see going forward to support weekend service and expanded frequency. And in order to accommodate those things, we'll need additional buses. So we've got project on there to expand our fleet, upgrading the paratransit scheduling software. So that's a project to replace the existing system that we've got for our Roadrunner service today. Further down, we've got our general facilities and equipment improvements. So these are things, our state of good repair projects, spare parts for fixed route and paratransit, and IT equipment replacements. In 26, we'll be taking delivery early in fiscal 26 of 6 35-foot hybrids. And that was a fiscal 23 low-no award. We've also got a couple administrative vehicle replacements, so that it also includes a service truck. Going further down, we have our regular or annual short-range transit planning funds. And then in some of the outer years, we've got additional revenue vehicle replacements, which are vehicle replacements are just replacing the buses that will have met their useful life at that time. In Acton, again, this is a conceptual, it's in an outer year. We're looking into the feasibility to potentially put a bus hub and maintenance facility, expanding service in our outer communities. Going, and where's the Hill Street? So Hill Street, the fixed route maintenance and operations facility has a solar panel system. So in the 2030 year, we've got a project to look at upgrades and replacements, because that roofing system went in the early 2000s. So that'll be approaching its useful life, and we'll be looking at upgrading and expanding the solar system potentially in an outer year. I know that was kind of a lot. If anyone has any questions, Justin and I are happy to answer.
Thank you, Allie. Are there any questions for Allie or Justin at this time? All right. Thank you very much for your presentation. Just a note for MPO staff, as of yesterday, also for LRTA, as of yesterday, MassDOT Rail and Transit Division has approved the transit list for all RTAs. So if you need assistance downloading that project list for your narrative document, just work with Miranda, and it's available now for download. Thank you. I think next on the agenda is item 5, Nashua Urbanized Area Memorandum of Understanding. Kelly, are you presenting on this?
Yes, this is really a follow-up. So about a month ago, the MPO, at our February meeting, the MPO voted to release the Nashua UZA MOU for public comment. This is an agreement between Nashua Regional, the Nashua RPC MPO, Southern New Hampshire MPO, us, New Hampshire DOT, MassDOT, New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services, Nashua Transit, Manchester Transit, and the LRTA. We did not receive any comments from the public during that public comment period. The draft MOU as presented last month is unchanged, and that is also provided as a link on our calendar page with the agenda. So if I can pull it up if anyone has any questions. Otherwise, we have a request to vote to endorse.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any questions regarding the MOU before taking a motion to vote? Seeing and hearing none, could we please have a motion for favorable action to endorse the Nashua UZA MOU?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Kelly, please call the roll.
Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wolters,
Yes.
Stephen Demelis,
Yes.
Karen Pulio,
Yes.
Wayne Janess.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Our next item is an update on the public participation plan, including any comments received during the 45-day public comment period. Kelly?
Sure. So this was released in January. Federal regulations require that we have a 45-day public comment period for a public participation plan. We held a public hearing in February. We also promoted this widely. We received no public comments on the public participation plan. I did receive a number of staff comments. They were fairly minor in nature, so these were just minor clarifications. I think just to add that there were requests to clarify that when we do surveys, we should not just do digital surveys, but for digital equity, we should make sure that those surveys are available in paper form. So the plan was updated to reflect that. That is a standard practice that we follow, but just want to make sure that that's clear in the plan in case none of us are around at some point in the future to ensure that that continues. There were a few minor changes to some of the federal regulations in the appendix, and also a request for clarification on some of the timelines by using the flow charts that we talk about as part of our tools for public participation, but actually using those flow charts to demonstrate like our decision-making process when something is going to go before a public hearing, or whether or not it's going to require an amendment or an adjustment. Does anyone have questions about the public participation plan?
Doesn't look
All
like
right.
it.
Okay,
Could we have a, go ahead, sorry, Kelly.
no, you were gonna ask the same thing, go ahead.
I believe we need an endorsement on this item. Could we have a motion and second to endorse the public participation plan as presented?
Motion to endorse as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Kelly, please call the roll.
Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Steve Mellis,
Yes.
Karen Pulio,
Yes.
Wayne Janess.
Yes.
And motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So many action items on today's agenda. On to another. This is the next agenda item 2529 Transportation Improvement Program Amendment number 3 and Adjustment number 3. Kelly, after you.
All right, so I'm gonna have Blake take the first one.
Sure, there isn't a whole lot to say about amendment 3. So this is amendment 3 to the tip, for fiscal years 25 through 29. This amendment, involves the removal of a project from the tip that did not secure funding, through a discretionary grant application. So what we're essentially doing is more of an accounting update. We're not changing an actual project scope, with this amendment. But we did have a 21-day public comment period, which we released when the board previously voted on this last time. And then we held a public comment meeting on March 5th at 12 p.m. via Zoom. And we invited the public to send us comments, both by mail or by phone, or by sending us an email to publiccomments@nmcog.org. We did not receive any public comments on Amendment 3. So with that said, if there's any questions on this, otherwise, request to endorse the amendment with public comments received.
Thank you, Blake. I have a question. What was the open and close date of the public comment period?
February 26th.
Yes, February 26th is when the opening was. So
Then 21 days
closure
after
would
that.
be that plus 21 days.
I'll say the 19th. Thank you.
19th, okay.
All
Chair,
right.
I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Joshua.
So it's you're deprogramming the discretionary grant, but where's the new funding coming from?
Hi, so we are actually obligating existing 5307 that we had carryover funds to cover the balance of the project.
Gotcha. Thank you, Ally.
Yep.
Yeah, Joshua, I see 5307 in toll development credit for the match on
Yep.
that. That'll be reflected in the STIP action when it goes to FTA.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no other questions, could we have a motion for favorable action to endorse amendment number 3 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Kelly, please call the roll.
Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Stephen Mellis,
Yes.
Karen Pulio,
Yes.
Wayne Janess.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe next is adjustment number 3.
Yes, and Derek, you can probably speak to this just as well as I can, but I'm parroting your email
I-
here.
Yeah, I can. Massachusetts, MassDOT, excuse me, awards grants as part of the Community Transit Grant Program every year. and recently announced operations and mobility management grants with both a combination of either 5310 funding, which is federal funding, as well as some awards that were exclusively state funded or through other non-federal sources. The MPO is required to adjust the tip for any federal 5310 funds that were received in your region. And there was a handful of, there was an award made for LRTA's Mobility Outreach Coordinator line item, which is for $71,200. There was a placeholder on the STIP for the Mobility Assistance Program. This is constituted as a tip adjustment because it's more specificity and regionally specific to where those funds are being programmed, but it does require an MPO board endorsement before LRTA can obligate the funds. I'm happy to answer any other questions on this item.
Yeah, I have a question. So is this an ongoing position or funded just for 1 year?
We'll defer to LRTA on that.
Yep. So it's an ongoing position. This just essentially supplements our regular operating funding sources.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ally. If there's no other questions, could we have a motion and second for favorable action to adjustment number 3?
Make
Motion
that
to approve.
Then I'll second.
Thank you. Kelly, please call the roll.
Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Stephen Thomales,
Yes.
Karen Pulio,
yes,
and Wayne Janess.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the fiscal year 25 Unified Planning Work Program Amendment number 3. I believe, again, we have Kelly presenting on this.
Yeah, and this is our final action, so we got through them all. This is a request to amend our Unified Planning Work Program. Currently, and for the last 2 years, we have had something related to Task 5.1, which was a study of the Drake Bridge and Aiken intersection or corridor. Basically, at the request of the town, we've followed up with the town on this multiple times, and there has been a pretty significant amount of staff turnover at the town and leadership change. And because of that, the town has submitted a request to amend this task. Their desire is, their stated intent is that the Bridge and Aiken Street corridor is no longer a priority. It was something that was a priority of the previous leadership in town, but is no longer a priority. And they have actually requested that we amend this task to help them reprioritize which projects they want to try to advance to the tip. And so this would basically change the activities in the UPWP that are related to task 5.1. It wouldn't change the town and it wouldn't change the budget. As described in the amendment summary that's available on our calendar page, the proposed activities that would be amended or that would be part of the amendment would be to finalize the scope of work, both with the town of Drake and we would present that to the MPO. We would analyze and collect crash volume and roadway data, and analyze land use and business needs, so looking at zoning and surrounding land uses, and doing a variety of engagement activities, primarily with key stakeholders in town to really understand what their priorities for transportation improvements are. And this would then help us to work with them to develop a prioritization framework and score and rank roadway and intersection and locations. Drake's ultimate goal is to identify a project that could potentially become TIP eligible. It's been a while since they've had a project on the TIP, and this would be a project that would be specifically designed to help them advance a project toward the TIP. In a way, this is similar intent to what the Bridge and Aiken Street corridor study was, but now it's just opening it up a little bit. We would also, under this project, help to identify potential project scopes and funding for design work so that they could further advance a project on the TIP. The final deliverable for this would be a final report that we would share with the MPO and also with the town of Drake. I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, we have a request to vote to release this amendment for a 21-day public comment period.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Kelly on the amendment as presented?
Chair.
Yes.
When would the final report be completed? Would it be within this federal fiscal year or the next?
Yes, it would. So if this is endorsed by the MPO in April, we would begin the project immediately. It has approximately $17,000 project scope, so we would be able to get that project initiated and completed within the rest of this federal fiscal year.
And would it be a consultant-led project or would this be done by staff?
This would be done by staff.
All right. Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm just double checking because I know amendment and adjustment procedures for unified planning work programs vary slightly between regions. I don't know that you actually require a 21-day public comment period for an amendment. It looks like you have a public comment period in your procedures, and that you require a board endorsement, but it's just unclear for the length of time.
Okay.
Or if this meeting is sufficient. So I'm comfortable with still releasing this for a 21-day public comment, but just some feedback for the development of your next UPWP. That might be something we want to firm up the language for.
That sounds great. Yeah. Yeah, and again, I'm happy to keep this open for public comment. I know we have 21 days specified for amendments, but in our public participation plan.
Okay. Yeah, it
we-
should certainly align with your public participation plan.
Yeah.
So if the PPP says that, then that's what will follow.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
And I see
You're
Joshua nodding approvingly, so thank you, Joshua.
Yeah.
Could we have a motion to release amendment number 3 to the UPWP for 21-day public comment, please?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Kelly, please call the roll.
Derek Schuster,
Yes.
Brian Fallon,
Yes.
Pat Wojcik,
Yes.
Stephen Thamalis,
Yes.
Aaron Pulio,
Yes.
Wayne Janess.
Yes.
All right, motion passes. We will bring this back to you with any public comments at the April meeting.
Thank you, Kelly. Next item on the agenda is the development. I think this is supposed to say 2026 Unified Planning Work Program.
Yeah, I hope that we're developing that one. Yes, we will be
Yep.
developing 2026. We are in the
Alright.
process, actually.
Excellent.
All right, thank you. Here it's correct. So we are, just to kind of point out where we are at the end of March here. We are working toward presenting to you in April a list of our preferred tasks and budget. So we're kind of in this process of, as staff, we're working together to identify which projects we want to bring to the MPO as part of our next potential work plan. And as part of this, we also have submitted a request for deobligated PL funds to MassDOT. So I'm going to share this with you in just a second. When we come back to you in April, like I said, we'll have that list of projects. And then in May, we will present a draft of the UPWP to you, which at that point, if you vote to release it for public comment, it'll be out for 21 days. We'll bring it back to you in June for endorsement. And then in July, we would then share that with our state and federal partners, and it would become our work plan on October 1 of 2026. Just for transparency, we did submit a request for deobligated PL funds. What I mean by deobligated PL funds is any funds that we have not spent from our Unified Planning Work Program in the last 3 years are basically accumulated. And if with MassDOT's approval, we are potentially able to use those funds not for staff time, but for consultant and materials. And so we've submitted a request. This is not a guarantee. This is a request for funds, and if it approved, we would program this into our next Unified Planning Work Program. But just to give you a heads up on what might be in there, we've requested 2 mobile eco counters. This would enable us to have mobile counters for bicycle and pedestrian activity. This is closely related to our ongoing work on the Greater Lowell Regional Bicycle and Pedestrian Plan, and it would help us to do those counts. Right now, we only count vehicles, and it'd be great to count people getting around via other means. We've also requested some office equipment, including laptop computers and a large format printer and plotter, because ours is currently suffering. And then finally, we've requested the following consultant professional services. So for the past several years, we've used a consultant to complete our traffic counting program. We requested funds to continue that with a consultant in 2025 and 2026. We've requested the second portion of our bicycle and pedestrian plan and an additional amount of funds to help us do what was previously an optional task 7. Task 7 in the bike ped plan would allow us to advance 1 or 2 priority links that are identified in that future network to conceptual design. The goal with that is to really kind of kickstart implementation on the bike ped plan as soon as it's approved and endorsed. And so that funding would help to offset those costs. And then we've also requested ongoing website maintenance. We're developing a new website and with accessibility features and better language translation through Civic Plus, and this would provide for year 2 maintenance. That is where we are at with the UPWP. Any questions?
Thank you, Kelly. Any questions for Kelly?
Chair,
Yeah, Joshua.
how much funds are you requesting?
I believe it's about 160 and change.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome. 160,000, not $160. Yeah, thanks.
For the record. Excellent.
Yes.
All right, seeing and hearing no other questions, thank you for that update. You're planning to release the UPWP in May, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So next item we have is status report on transportation improvement program projects under design and construction. I believe this is Tim Paris. Are you there? Oh, there you are, Tim.
I am, sorry, I was muted.
All good.
Yeah, we have just a few items for this meeting. Project 612197, the Amesbury, Haverhill, Lowell, Methuen Bridge Preservation Bundle along I-485. Just wanted to let you know construction is 84% complete on that, and it is due to be completed by the end of the year. 610719, Burlington to Kingsborough pavement preservation on Route 3. That has proceeded to final design. We have some updated costs. They were minor changes. No, I'm sorry. It's been advertised that there's been some minor cost changes, and the bids are going to be opened in mid-May. 610704. Just want to let you know there that the construction is proceeding, and it's about a third complete now, with supposed to be completed by November of this year. And 609510 Drake improvements at the George Inglesby Elementary School, a safe routes to school project that had some little less than $500,000 cost increases. And that was it.
Thank you, Tim. Are there any questions for D4 at this time? Hearing none. Before we continue, did anyone from LRTA have any updates they wanted to share with the board at this time? Okay. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, I believe, has to do with the remote meeting expiration. I actually have an update on this, Kelly.
Yeah. Probably the
So,
same thing I have up.
yep. So, it is anticipated to be extended, the open meeting law provisions that allow for virtual meeting through June 2027. I believe we're just waiting on the governor's signature for that, at least last I heard from Ledge Affairs. So this is pertinent to the board, just so that, you know, we can plan to meet virtually or continue to meet virtually in April. However, if anything changes before the next meeting, Kelly and NMMPO staff will communicate that to board members if, in fact, we do need to meet in person. But I think we are anticipating the ability to continue meeting virtually.
Good news.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah. That said, I'm hopeful that we can still do a few meetings a year in person. It's nice to get up to Lowell and see you all.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
All right. Other business, do we have any items for other business at this time?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Wayne.
thank you. So this was just something that I was asked to bring to the table here. It's probably not something for MPO, but it is something for MassDOT, which is I've had several constituents reaching out to me about the lights on the Rourke Bridge in Lowell. They were out for a while. I guess they're back now. But I did say that I would bring it to the attention of the folks here. I don't know if this is a Brian question or a Derek question or even a Tim question, but I'm not sure what caused the outage and what the repair was and if we're on track for them being on as long as the bridge remains.
Thank you, Wayne. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, Wayne, I can certainly check into that. I don't know, have any firsthand knowledge, but I can reach down to the bridge section and find out what the cause was and what the future of the lights are on the existing bridge.
All right, I would appreciate that very much. Thank you.
I'll email you back.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Brian. Any other business? Seeing and hearing none, could we please have a motion and second to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. With that objection, we are adjourned. Everyone have an excellent rest of your day and see you at the April MPO meeting. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Derek. Boy, that was great.